Hello, this is Kelly Kleinman, and you're listening to the DealershipNews.com podcast, where we cover the who's happening in the automotive industry. Today, we're discussing cutting-edge automotive websites, and I'm not talking about carsforsale.com, folks. SEO plays an enormous role in designing a user-friendly website, as do a number of other mission-critical components. It ain't easy work, but our guest makes it seem so. Welcome, Dave Tarczynski. The name of the company, Carcasm.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you for having me on today.
A pleasure. Thanks for joining us. Tell us about how you got into the automotive industry. Was it something you've had a lifelong interest in, or did you just happen to stumble into it like so many of us?
Well, I would say that I definitely stumbled upon it. Even more so, one of my friends invited me to work at one of his dealerships. I was in between jobs, and he needed some help with his inventory. So he called me up one day, and he said he needed some help getting all the inventory organized. So I worked for him for about 10 months. We cleaned up some of the processes at the dealership, and I even created a unique to them reporting system using a couple of different processes, and they had a system called Keeper. So I tapped into the database, and I could build this whole report on everything that they wanted to know, basically from a website. So some of that was the my main way that I got into the industry.
We all tend to stumble into it because we need a gig, but fortunately for a lot of us, it has some staying power. Well, tell us about Carcasm. When did you file your corporate papers, and who was your first client?
So we filed our corporate papers in 2014, and coincidentally, the dealership that I worked for had two partners, and my first client was one of the partners. He actually went on his own, and we started building a website for him. The programmer that I work with, his name's Frank. I couldn't have done the system without him. Just the two of us working late nights, getting everything going. It was 5 months of, for lack of a better way to put it, hell.
Frank is a typical programmer name, isn't it? Frank or Glenn. Don't ask me why.
It just might be, and we refer to him as Frank the Tank. So,
not a little guy.
Not a little guy, but he's not that big, so I don't know exactly where the name started, but it's stuck throughout the years.
Do you have a good imagination?
Sometimes. It just depends, especially under a pressure situation, probably not, but sitting here on my own, yeah. I think I technically was the one who came up with the name Carcasm.
Well, that's not where I'm going, but it sort of is. Now, everyone has an elevator pitch, so I need you to imagine that you've just gotten into an elevator in the Empire State Building. It's a GM or perhaps the president of a big dealer group who doesn't know you. Give me a 30-second elevator pitch off the hip. Go.
Wow. Okay. No pressure there. I would basically introduce myself, tell him what I do, and would explain to him that my system is basically just like all the others. We display inventory and all that, but what is very unique about us is that you work directly with a programmer. For instance, I'm a programmer, and all the clients that I'm in charge of talk directly with me. They ask me, if they need something specific that may be unique to them. I can have a conversation with them. I can tell them what they can do, what they can't do. I can give them advice based on my SEO experience, based on my general website experience. And any dealership under our platform gets that type of attention, because I think that is what's lacking in a lot of the other systems. You talk to some tech support or some answering service that doesn't have a clue as to what's going on a website, and I do.
So would you say that that's what distinguishes you from the competition? I mean, a lot of people have great design skills. They could put together pretty nice websites for a decent price, but you're saying that your ability to communicate, to stay in touch, and sort of speak in layman's terms with your client is a distinguishing factor between you and the competition?
I think it's key, because I can get a designer to do something special for me if I really need it. And if not, I can do it. I have experience with design. I, of course, have experience with HTML, and my main is programming, of course. But for years, I was a designer and just a basic HTML, CSS coder.
What are the main platforms you work with? Is it everything is custom coded? Do you work with WordPress?
We do not work with WordPress. Of course, we did. I have extensive experience on other WordPress sites that are not car related. So some of that experience has influenced some of the things that we've built out, and also my experience with other car dealership platforms.
Mm-hmm.
I've worked on dealer.coms, I've worked on dealer-ons, I've worked on cars for sale platforms. I've worked on many platforms and know what I can and can't do within them, within their systems, and of course I know what I can and can't do within my own system.
Well, let me ask you a question along those lines then. When you walk into a dealership, what does your checklist look like in regards to assessing their website needs?
Well, usually the first thing I ask them is who their website provider is, and that really gives me a feel as to what they're going for, as to what they require for service. If the dealership, for instance, says they use cars for sale website, I might have a harder time selling them because they're cheaper than us, and they do have some good features and all that. I don't want to sell any other platform short. We all have our pluses and minuses. It's just the way it is. And from there, usually I find out what their TMS is and how they actually get their inventory out into the web and into the world, for everybody to see.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's all rather boring. It's just the fact that I'm more of a programmer than a salesman, and sometimes I miss those special cues that would prompt me to push a sales type of issue.
Sure, absolutely. You do your job, and the sales guys have to do their job. Well, talk to us about, since we're discussing sales on some level here, talk to us about the sales funnel of a website, or isn't there one anymore? How do you make a website special enough whereby it's a conversion tool in its own right? Is it a video feature? Is it chat? Is it SEO?
Well, here's the thing. This is such a loaded question, and I wouldn't even know exactly where to start. So I can really just give you, for instance.
Okay.
So it really depends on the customer's marketing strategies, for instance. If one of our clients primarily uses Google AdWords and Facebook campaigns to drive traffic to the website,
Mm-hmm.
we always recommend using some type of call tracking, creating landing pages that are attached to those campaigns. And that really helps the user, our clients, of course, to get a more accurate idea of what their real return on investment is. Each dealership uses different strategies. Sometimes Carcasm isn't even involved in their marketing besides providing with the website support.
Yeah, that was actually what my next question was going to be. Are you active in marketing the site for the dealer? And if so, what do those practices look like? So I would assume that sometimes you do, sometimes you don't.
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Like I said, we mostly provide the website services.
Yeah.
Most of our dealerships have companies they already use for marketing,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even for years. Usually the individual in charge of marketing will contact me at some point in time to make changes to the website or simply to add pages, or, I have clients who call me on SEO advice all the time.
Yeah, there's a company out there called Dealer Analytics that does a really good job with that. They basically go in and take a look at all attributions and all incoming traffic, and they could tell you what's working, what's not. It's sort of neat. Again, it's a vendor who works with companies such as yourself. They're pretty inexpensive, actually. It's unfortunately dealerships don't have their own internal people who are knowledgeable enough in that regard, but these guys do a good job. Are there any specific conversion metrics or other KPIs that you could show a dealer based on your site architecture that demonstrate that you're not the average web geek? I say that with affection, by the way. I say that with affection, by the way. We're all web geeks.
No, that's totally fine. I totally understand. But this is one of those, another loaded question.
Yeah.
The short answer would be, for instance, we'll use, and hopefully, of course, the dealership has their own Google Analytics already installed on the website. Sometimes the providers that they use install their own analytics, and sometimes if the dealership switches providers, they might lose those analytics. So in that case, it could be kind of tough. Mm-hmm. But generally speaking, I would use their analytics to see how their website is actually functioning. Of course, this is if they were on our platform. We use speed tests, to make sure that we shorten the load time between desktop, between tablet, and mobile itself. There's such a high degree of mobile traffic nowadays that you really do have to be aware. And unfortunately, sometimes I really do have to get the dealerships, whether it be the GM or the internet marketer, to sit down with me and actually do an audit on each page and make sure, especially the main pages, your home page, your VDP, your SRP, and force them to sit down with me and go through the pages, make sure that we're doing call to actions, make sure that the website's loading fast, get rid of any extra third-party scripts that is not needed for those particular pages. As soon as the page speed, the page load speed drops, you have a high chance of losing the person who's trying to load the website itself.
Yeah, sure, that's important. So, how many dealers are currently using your sites, and how can we get you some more?
Well, that's what I like to hear. How can we get me some more? Currently, we have about 100 dealerships on our platform. All of them are independent. I've done a little bit of research. Well, actually, I've spent hours of research trying to get into a new dealership market, but it's very tough to get into. I think just getting the word out about Carcasm is all we need to get even more clients. We really provide a personalized service, and than most of the other platforms out there. I really do sit down with dealerships, whoever their representative, and just go through the website and do anything, within reason, of course, that they want done on the website.
Where will Carcasm be in 5 years, and what do you guys have in R&D that we should all be getting really excited about?
Well, hopefully in 5 years, I'll have 100 programmers that will all take the personalized calls from the clients. That's a pipe dream, but hey, we all have to dream, right? Currently, we're always building something. Like I said, I am a programmer. So every time a client comes to me and says, hey, we'd really like to see this on the website, we would really like to see that on the website. We really sit down, figure out if it's something that we can do, especially if it's something that benefits all the dealerships. And, if we can make a little money off it, obviously great. Currently, we're discussing building it would basically be a reporting system per VIN number. So, for instance, a lot of these independent dealerships have buyers, that go to auction and pick up cars and all that. Mm-hmm. So if we had something that could really, either scan the VIN or enter the VIN and really build like a quick report saying that, hey, this is what this car's worth in this condition, that condition, that condition, we'll probably give the buyers a better way to purchase cars. And I know there's already stuff out there, but, we all have our take on things. We're also in the process of building it would probably be more of a text message thing, but it could also be converted to a chat. And chats are all out there, but if we could keep some of these services within our platform, and then of course we get the experience with communication via chat, saving data so the dealerships can, do better sales. It's always the main goal.
Well, I wish you the best of luck. Hope to see you down the road in 5 years. And of course, we frequent quite a few of these expos and conventions, and definitely look forward to meeting you at some of those. That's it, Dave. You did a great job, guy.
Hey, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
You betcha. Well, this is again Kelly Kleinman. You're listening to the DealershipNews.com podcast. That was Dave Tarczynski of Carcasm. He is the engineer. He's going to make your website look great, folks. Give him a buzz. For now, this is Kelly, DealershipNews.com, signing off.
Have a great day.
You too.